your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar, as the prophecy was once reborn as a godhead snake, circling your planet ready to blow it to smithereens. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And we're still not sponsored, Broadcaster Nickels.
And today, Broadcaster, speaking of sponsorships, I hear that your employment sponsors have been pissing you off lately.
Employment sponsors? Man, that was the most Orwellian way of putting a job, like your financial sponsors. Dude,
Your employment sponsors have terminated you. Have a good day, citizen.
My money sponsors up my ass today, dude. God, dude. Let me tell you. You know, you always hear the fucking... There's always somebody in your life, right? They'll always try to give you the wrong motivational quotes at the wrong time in your life, and then you'll remember them and be like, oh yeah, that fucking clown had a point. And today, I just remembered my old friend, who I won't name because I don't want to, by chance of them listening to this one day, I don't want them to fucking think they're a piece of shit or something, because they're not. But nonetheless, I remember my old drug addict friend, fucking with a numb jaw from cocaine or something like that. He came into the Dairy Queen I was working at.
That's a great nickname, numb jaw. I like that.
Yeah, well, he did a bunch of gummers, like, which is dipping your wet finger in cocaine and then rubbing it on your teeth and your gums. Weird. And it's what cokeheads do to try to get all the rest of the coke out of their baggies.
Oh, interesting.
So, anyways, comes in to the Dairy Queen I'm working at, and he tries to somehow tell me I'm wasting my life, and to know, and quote unquote, know my own worth. As he was trying to mock me for working at Dairy Queen while he was homeless and a drug addict. Anyways, today that quote rang in my head as I was wasting my time at this place of business. Because these fucking assholes, dude, like I don't want to dog on religion, because not all religious people are bad. But these are the type of religious people that just have the utmost, like, they're just super passive aggressive. And I don't know if it has something to do with their faith or they're just because they're like shut-ins. Like, I mean, one of the guys I work with hasn't watched TV ever. He hasn't owned a television. Mormons? No, they're Christians.
Just what kind? Well, Christian has like 8.
The mom and dad are Canadian, and they they came into America like 20 years ago or something like that. Moved to Montana, had a couple kids who are the people I work with now today. And fucking, nonetheless, they, like 2 weeks ago, I'm doing my job, which is a very physically intensive job that they do not appreciate at all. That nobody else in the shop does besides one other person. And we've had some back and forth over the months where, like, I was doing too much and I was getting pissed, and then they lightened my workload and things were fine. Well, about 2 weeks ago, they come up to me, both of them together, because they're husband and wife. Let me tell you, kids, boys and girls, if you think it's weird just having a fucking dumb or fucking asshole boss or whatever they are, imagine having to work with a husband and wife together. They make your boss. It's weird. All right. But nonetheless, they approach me together, like holding hands type weird. Not really, but that's what they do that sometimes around the shop. It's fucking weird.
Oh,
but nonetheless, they come up to me together, and this is what a very simple question. They're just like, hey, someone's leaving. Would you like to take over their job of painting? I think what they meant to say was take over everything they did, but they specifically asked me if I wanted to do this one thing. And I was already doing my task. It seemed like a simple thing to ask of me. I was like, yeah, that's easy. No problem. I got that taken care of. And then they slowly unravel the riddle, which is that, and there's like, oh, no. When we asked if you wanted to do that one task, what we really meant was you have to do all of this person's task. They're leaving and we don't have a replacement, so your workload is doubling, tripling type thing. And how you like to spread that out throughout the day is your problem type of deal now, right?
Let me guess, your salary was also tripling.
Exactly. No. There was not even a goddamn... I don't even think the thought passed through their head to even ask me, right? So, and keep in mind when they asked me this, they had already hired someone the previous day that took a job I was doing without them asking. So on top of what I was doing, I had this other task, and I'm trying to keep this as vague as possible. But I had this other task that I did, which I enjoyed. It was kind of a reprieve from the other main task I do throughout the day. And so when they approached me the next day and asked if I wanted to start doing the thing that the employee leaving used to do, I already knew in my head that it really wasn't an option. It wasn't a question. It was whether or not they were just going to have me do that particular job now. So they were already, I was doing deliveries as a side job there. Like, not my main job, but that was what I did when my main job was done. And the day before this conversation, they fucking hired somebody that I assumed was going to do deliveries. And then the next day they came up to me. They're like, hey, do you want to stop doing deliveries and paint? And I was just like, well, I mean, I know you already gave my other job to that guy. So, I mean, what are you really asking me? It's just, they're so weird. Right. And
they remind me of the McDoyles from Always Sunny.
Yeah,
that's how I picture them.
That was a really long-winded way of saying all that, but I was trying to keep it vague as possible. But just to shorten this up, nonetheless, this company meeting happened the other day, right? And it was super short. I had no idea my name was going to be brought up because no one even told me that. Dude, this is fucking. So they're like, okay, so the new shop in the other state's opening up, and we're going through all of this, and we just want to let you know that this person and this person are being promoted and are not promoted, but they're moving over to the other shop which I'm at, and they'll be taking over this end of the business or whatever. And then out of nowhere, they were just like, and Nick's going to be taking care of pretty much all the thing I do, essentially. And I was like, what? And the guy looked at me. He's like, right? And I was like, are you sure? And everyone kind of laughed like I was making a joke. And we left it like it was like a 2-minute meeting. So like that after that laugh, like everyone kind of just like broke up and walked away. And I was like, what the fuck? What the hell is he saying? Like, I'm not the lead. So anyways, in a gist, the one thing I've been complaining about doing at this job too much, they now just fucking turned me into the lead of. Like I'm in charge of all of them. And I'm just like, what?
Dude,
what
they tried to do a genjutsu on you, man. That was some Itachi shit.
I try to leave that vague as possible because if I say certain words, they'll be able to identify my job pretty easily.
I'm sure they're perusing every podcast in the universe to find you.
For sure. Well, no, I'm talking about like years off, like maybe when we're more famous and we got sponsors. No big deal.
Yeah, once we got some sponsors, sure.
Then you'll have those fucking losers scooting up. Yeah, that's right. I'm looking at you in the future right now.
Man, that's funny. Yeah, that's not surprising.
What am I fucking talking about? If I got sponsors, I got no fucking job. I don't gotta worry about these fucking losers.
Just
what
chilling.
am I talking about? Yeah, I'm just fucking
chilling on
these guys got me.
Tim Dillon.
These guys got me in the fucking red, dude. This is so fucking. It's just. I think what it is just. I'm always surprised by how some people can just want so much of you and not realize what they're asking, you know?
Oh, they realize what they... Dude, that was...
It
Are
doesn't,
you
like,
kidding me?
some of them do. No, some of
You
them
kept
do,
that
genuinely.
story
Like, the people,
super vague, and I still understand exactly what they were trying to do.
But it's not like, it's not the people that are actually in charge that are trying to manipulate the situation, but it's also the other employees around me that have no reason to like want to gaslight me or anything like that. They'll, like, one of the people like I really respected there, like she was kind of like in periphery of this conversation I was having about not wanting to do what I just explained. And she kind of was like on their side. She's just like, "Oh, come on, you afraid of work and stuff?" And I was like, you know, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt why she just said that, because maybe she doesn't realize that they haven't offered me a fucking raise at all. Maybe she doesn't realize how little they're paying me, you know, or like the fact that I work 8 to 9 hours a day, and 6 of those hours are literally pushing my body and arms into a fucking wire wheel that's spinning at like 14 to 1500 RPMs. I'm sacrificing my joints, my flesh, my cartilage, like everything. And they all, it's just, it might be just a me thing, you know? I haven't worked in the industry as long as them. Maybe I'm just going through like these, maybe it's just not for me or whatever, but you know what? From my perspective, I just see a bunch of people that don't do my job, won't do my job, and I don't see them finding a lot of people to help out doing my job. So I take that as me being pretty fucking rare for them to have. So it's just, I don't know. It's fucking just mind-boggling how unappreciative of the job they are.
Yeah. Yep. It's a weird place you work at, broadcaster. Hopefully, hopefully sometime soon we'll be sponsored by Sony Entertainment, and we can be brought under their big umbrella, much like they are planning to bring From Software in under their umbrella, broadcaster. Have you heard the news?
I'm just thinking about like the PlayStation original load-in from the PS1. Yeah, but it's just a giant dollar sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I straight up use that sound effect in a video game that I made because it's such a crazy sounding sound effect, that original PS1 loading sound, that it like translates to almost any science fiction sound effect you need. Like, do you have a Gundam that's about to power up? Use the Sony PS1 load sound. It's perfect, dude. Like, seriously, that sound effect is underrated.
It's so funny. Imagine, I just thought about like a piston and a cylinder moving in a leg or something. I was just matched PS1. It up, right? Yep, PS1.
Anyway, so after the ridiculous and sort of odd success of Elden Ring among like mass appeal, like, I don't think anyone's surprised that Elden Ring is doing well. It's a good game, but for lack of a better term, its success with normies, I think, is what's surprising. And apparently it surprised Sony too, because as soon as Elden Ring sort of blew the scene up, all of a sudden Sony is now trying to purchase From Software and make them an internal in-house studio. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a baller move that ballers definitely do, because when you have a fuck ton of money and you're like, they got the sauce, you fucking buy them and hopefully they can replicate it. But I mean, that's textbook for Sony. They did the same thing with
all their internal studios.
Yeah, pretty much
Santa Monica.
Well, Santa Monica wasn't. What was the original studio? Wasn't it something else? Santa Monica was the actual rebranding and the acquisition of the studio that made God of War.
You're right about that.
But before that, I think so. I might be making that up.
I think you're right.
I can't check that in real time, to be honest. I don't want to, but it's something along those lines. But yeah,
Do you think it'll happen? Do you think it's a good move? I mean, obviously it's a good move for Sony. Do you think it's a good move From Software? Because
no.
this is
No.
interesting because From Software, all of their success essentially has been on the Sony platform up till now. Elden Ring comes out. It's their first major success off platform.
On multi-platform.
And all of a sudden, Sony's like, we want to make sure you're only on our platform now. It seems like a great move for Sony, but it seems like From Software, not so much. Unless, the price tag's right. And with the paper money, sort of monopoly money attitude with gaming acquisitions right now, I wonder what the price tag is. What could the price tag be, broadcaster?
Who the fuck cares, to be honest?
Who the fuck cares?
But what really intrigues me, though, is the fact that if Sony did get From Software, it would probably be one of those big pieces on this mental chessboard I have in my head of Sony just taking over the console game wars. Mm-hmm. Because this is a tinfoil hat conspiracy in my head. I feel like all these companies, they talk to each other. They know their fucking 10, 20, 50-year plans that are constantly changing or whatever. But I don't think Microsoft wants to dominate the console game. They clearly have moved with their servers and pretty much allowing PCs to play any Xbox game. They've clearly in their own way waved not a white flag, but the flag of the future, And Sony actually seems dead set on becoming a proprietary video game company, They're still trying to get exclusives like crazy. They're keeping their circle tight. It just seems like if Sony was to acquire From Software, which I don't think is fucking good for From Software, but if they did, it just proved what I just said, because Xbox they've done nothing to secure their fate in a video game, to see themselves as the king of video games. Mm-hmm. They've let Halo fall apart. They're scrambling to get it back up and running, but they just give me a game where you're just got to go to Microsoft for that. Give me one.
Well, maybe Call of Duty in the future, but Call of Duty is on its deathbed, so.
Yeah, right. So I guess in that way, I think it would be kind of cool to see just for the industry of dedicated console hardware and just what Sony will turn into with that type, because they're turning into a juggernaut of exclusives, dude.
Yeah, they are.
But for From Software, I feel like it would just, I don't know, dude. Miyazaki's a madman, and if he has some people lording over him, I feel like the whole thing just falls apart.
Yeah, I think that he would need the Joe Rogan deal if he does accept. It'd have to be a contract with an amendment on it that says you are not allowed to tell me what to do. I think that would have to be a part of it, because eventually Sony is going to be like, well, we think you could make this a little more inclusive, How about an easy mode?
People are data mining Elden Ring, right? Like they always do with every game, but they're figuring out that they're reusing assets from Dark Souls 2 and 3 and Bloodborne and stuff like that.
I've recognized lots of assets from Bloodborne already, and I'm only 20 hours into the game.
But you just gotta think, I'm watching some YouTube videos that are very well put together, and they're just the dots they're connecting. It becomes almost a conspiracy all in itself. It's are they thinking this far out, or was it just so well designed that it fell into place like this in the future? Either one's just fucking just shows you how good of a dev company they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think about that for a second? Fucking making a video game asset and then 8 years later plus just being yeah, I can just whip that right over.
I don't have to
this
think about
brand
that,
new
broadcaster.
blockbuster game I'm building. No big deal. It's just like, damn, dude, you're like Tony. That's like a Tony Stark feeling, right? Where you're just like, damn, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't think it's a great move for From Software unless the price tag is just so obscene, where it's like, well, at this point, I'll accept it, and then when they pull the rug from underneath me, I'll resign, and then I'll just go somewhere else and make my own indie games because I'll be so rich I won't need any money. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the way it goes, but I think Sony will be very disappointed when they do this deal, and then the first game that comes out under it is Armored Core 5, and it's gonna bomb.
Armored Core 5 exists,
Yeah.
and it did kind of bomb.
No, Armored Core 6. Yeah, I forgot about 5. But because it's confirmed that the next From Software game is an Armored Core title. That's basically confirmed at this point. So that would be what's coming out first under this new umbrella if it happens. And I don't give a fuck what you say, what predictions you have. There's no way that an Armored Core game is going to break the mass appeal barrier. Never. Don't give a fuck. Won't happen.
You know, it'd be really cool. And it's pretty fucking cliche to say this now, but wouldn't an Armored Core BR be pretty fucking dope?
Yeah, once
Think
VR
about
tech
that.
comes ahead a little bit for sure.
No, BR.
A
battle royale.
Oh my god. That is an amazing idea. Titanfall 3, where are you at?
Dude, Titanfall. Oh my god. It's sometimes I think about getting into the Titanfall mechs and just how well that was designed.
Yep.
As such just so pleasing. The AIs, how you can do different languages, the cockpit, all that shit, dude. It really fulfilled the childhood fantasy of being in a Gundam.
Yeah. It's the closest a Western mech game has ever come to feeling like a Gundam, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But, you know, on the other end of Sony news, have you heard that they're considering putting ads in free-to-play games? Have you heard about that?
Well, I think they should definitely reconsider that because, well, who knows? I feel like that would crush the free-to-play. It would slowly just kill the enthusiasm for free-to-play games with kids that would then grow up knowing, like, because you're just going to get sick of that. You could put up with it for maybe, like, adolescent years, but then when you go through that and you, like, start to resent it slowly, and then what? No one's going to be playing your free-to-play games. Like...
Yeah, and my guess is if they do that, they're going to still keep all of the bullshit microtransaction crap cloud that comes with free-to-play games, but on top of that, they're going to put ads in, which I think could be the final nail in the coffin of free-to-play genre, honestly, if they do that.
Sure. I mean, you have to go in the store and buy fucking in-game currency, and you have to fucking watch ads.
Can you imagine after every Halo Infinite match, you have to watch like a 2-minute ad for like a waffle maker or something? Can you imagine that?
Dude, I'm just thinking of like those commercials from Metal Gear Solid 4. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Just how like... I don't know how to describe. I know that it's like I know it's called the Uncanny Valley effect or whatever. That's what they were trying to like do, but there's also like an underlying like vibe with that shit where you're just like, you know, it's fake, but it's so close to real. You're entertained by it in some weird way where you're just like, oh man, it's so close. I want it. Like maybe it will become real here, and it's like
closer than
like
we thought.
Yeah, like. That's what it reminds me of. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, in other news, King Kong is coming to Warzone Season 3. Are you psyched? You ready?
What?
Yeah, it was leaked, Warzone Season 3, which I'm not sure when that comes out, but it's this year sometime. Apparently, King Kong is going to be a part of the map, and he's going to be like some like NPC boss creature of some kind that just is around the map terrorizing the players as they kill each other. What do you think?
Okay. You ever seen Waterboy when fucking his mama's like, that gorilla punch you in the eye? What'd she say?
Oh my god. Seems like a jump the shark moment.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because didn't they do something like this? They did during Christmas.
Yep. They had
the Krampus.
Yeah, Krampus.
And I'm pretty sure like all the people that they listened to for advice in the player base fucking hated it.
Yeah. I mean, that was right before I uninstalled Warzone, the Krampus shit. And it was a little entertaining the first couple times. But like, I think around match 4 or 5, I was like, okay, I'm good on this shit.
Yeah. I don't think I played too much after. I think I played when it came out. And then like a couple of days later, I never played again.
Well, that was when the cheating exploded. And I think we both uninstalled around the same time. Because that was when every lobby was like literally 55 out of 100 players were cheating.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I also just... The game's fucking huge for what it is. Let's be real. I don't like that for one. And, I don't know.
I just don't like the cut of its jib.
It's fucking... You get burned so many times, and you see the fucking... I feel like I'm just burned out with most games nowadays. Like,
yeah.
I feel like I'm just a real single-player type gamer now, and even then, I fucking pretty picky.
Yeah, I feel like we're being pushed in that direction by just like the joke of what multiplayer gameplay is right now.
It is, dude. You like how many every flavor you have to fucking lick. It's just like fucking diarrhea out your asshole, dude. Like Apex Legends is. I mean, it's all right. I just don't like it. There's nothing wrong with it. Like as a game, there's tons of people play it. It looks like they have fun. It's not my shooter.
Yeah.
Then there's Halo, which was an absolute fucking monumental letdown for almost everybody that wants a Halo game. And then there's Call of Duty, which has been plagued not by just cheating for the last fucking 3 to 5 years. I don't even know when it started now. But not only that, but it is slowly a devolving game. Like we've talked about this at length numerous times throughout the years. Like Call of Duty loses features. And then sometimes when the gods deem it right, they show up randomly, like 3 iterations later, like grappling, or sorry, is that what, wait, not grappling, what do you call it when you, the character can grab a ledge and pull itself up?
Grappling.
Is it grappling?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you grapple, like that showed up in Call of Duty and then disappeared and then reappeared, right? Now I'm talking about pretty far back, but still, like I'm just giving you examples. Then there's the grapple hook from Blackout. Nothing like that has fucking showed up again, right? Then you look at things like, I don't know if it was the Blackout multiplayer or if it was the one after it, but they had there was like operators that had special abilities.
That was right? Black Ops 3. That was the one before Blackout.
And then they disappeared. You know, it's just like, I know it's 2 different dev studios that are doing it, but it's just like Call of Duty is always in this flux of not progressing, but just shaking up.
They copycat they copycat Titanfall with grapple hooks. They they copy Destiny with hero powers. Like they're just always trying to copy whatever the flavor of the month is. That's how they got into Battle Royale. They were copying Fortnite. It's just like
I feel like I'm just burned. I don't want to do that anymore. Call of Duty shows no sign of becoming something better. Like they just want to fucking do the. Like I just saw an article like at work, and it was talking about how Verdansk is going to be back next year, but with a twist.
But on limited platforms.
Yeah, whatever. Who gives a fuck? It's just like, so you're telling me a year from now, you're not going to have a new map? And the map we're on currently isn't going to be like what you're trying to frame Verdansk as? Like, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think the new map hasn't aged well. When it first came out, I was a fan mainly because it was new. As I've settled into that new map, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, Verdansk was actually better. That's sort of where I've landed now. And I think that's the popular sentiment. And I think that's why they're like sort of retreating back to Verdansk, which is, it's sort of
so
like
crazy.
It's like, how about you don't retreat to Verdansk and you make a new map that's better?
I don't think they have anybody working. I'm really starting to think that the industry is in a fucking worker crisis, because the pace at which AAA developers with not dozens, we're talking about hundreds of fucking employees are just trickling out content right now.
Yeah.
Trickling it out. How long did it take them to develop that map? That shitty ass jungle map? 2.5 years? Plus? Just a map. It's not like they're building the engine from the fucking ground up and they got to make the weapons and the character models and all this crap. They're building a map.
Building a map, okay?
They literally have a tool set that's pre-made, like has been made for several years. That someone can whip up a map pretty fucking easy. You tell me. You've developed games. I mean, you haven't developed it on like that type of in a 3D asset world like that, but still, it's like you're telling me what you got in that jungle map was 2.5 years worth or more, whatever it was in development for.
Well, what I would say is that if I was doing it by myself, that map probably would have taken about 2.5 years. But they had a team of 100 people, so yeah, I'm gonna call bullshit on it. I don't think they actually developed it for 2.5 years. I think that they pretended like they were, and then like the final 6 months they crunched to make it, because it's a very buggy map. A lot of spots don't really make sense. Like once you play through that map a lot and you start to really get a feel for the terrain, it looks very rushed compared to Verdansk. Verdansk had a lot more strategic placement and it felt more natural. That jungle island just feels sort of hodgepodge once you really get a feel for it.
Yeah. Still no swimming.
That's never coming back, man. My favorite part of Blackout is just never coming back. Do you remember how fun underwater sniper battles were in Blackout?
It wasn't just. It's not just fucking Blackout though, dude. It was. Blackout's the battle royale. It wasn't just Black Ops though. What was that new Call of Duty that we were playing that had that dope, like when it first launched, it had the two ships in the water and you could in the middle of the ocean and you could be in the water and we were just getting fucking dozens of kills with the fucking sniper. You remember that?
Yeah, wasn't that Cold War?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it's all in the same fucking launcher or whatever now, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think Cold War was actually the same engine as Blackout. I think they just took the same engine as Black Ops 4 and just made Cold War in it. So that's why underwater fighting was in it.
So dumb, dude.
Yeah. Modern Warfare is definitely a different engine. You can tell. Like, it's not the same engine. So that's why there's no water combat, because it never had water combat.
So does that mean that the engine they're using for Warzone is just like the 15th billion iteration of the OG engine?
Probably.
That's fucking crazy. So they've just like milked these fucking games dry.
They have, and that's why they're now taking a hiatus on the yearly release. And I'm just like, oh, now you're doing that? You should have done that 5 years ago.
Crazy.
But speaking of things that are showing no sign of improvement, Broadcaster, are you ready to get to our preview of World of Warcraft Dragonflight?
What expansion is this?
Oh, God, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is expansion number 9.
Wow.
I've been there for all of them, Broadcaster. Except for that Kung Fu Panda shit. I vetoed that out of just pure pride. I couldn't be a part of that.
I was there for the OG3. Dip the fuck out like a real patriot.
Yep. You mean the ones that they're currently re-releasing?
Yeah, because they're better than all the crap that they've made past that. Yeah, totally.
Remember when that logo used to mean something?
Yeah. Also had way cooler of an intro for a logo. Lost their touch. 10,000 years ago.
The world has been sundered.
I hope you brought a snack.
It cries out in pain.
This looks like Final Fantasy XIV.
We must go to its aid. We entrust our ancestral home to you, the Watchers.
These cutscenes literally haven't improved since Burning Crusade. Like, it's the same quality as 2006.
Let the land slumber, hidden even from our own eyes. You will feel our return in the waking of the land.
Sad statue.
Then, you must light the beacon of Tearhold,
Dude.
lest the path home be lost to us forever.
Sure. Dude. Damn, son!
Flash cut.
The oceans are becoming diverse.
The diversity.
Oh, she went through a transition. Too many letters. I will restore the patriarchy. I, brother. Pussy.
This looks like Cold War.
I don't know what that means. This looks like a Destiny 2 level. The throne's yours, King. Yeah, that's what I thought, dude. Throw that dead bitch. Oh, come on, dude.
Got to fix the clock, bro. Nothing
Dude,
about
what the fuck
this
is going on.
Nothing
right
about this is Warcraft so far. Like, I would have no idea this is a Warcraft expansion if it wasn't labeled as such.
One measly golem fucking restore a divine artifact by just pushing them back together.
That's how you restore divine artifacts. You just squeeze them together.
Right, dude.
Oh no, bro.
Life uses you, dude. You got
Too
fucking
soon.
sacrifice, bruh.
Sorry, close your eyes and tranquil. Okay.
Gay.
Well, there's the dragon.
Let me guess. How many colored dragons are there? Wait for it.
Perhaps it might make a rainbow.
Oh my god, did I just
Oh shit! It's the LGBTQAI++ Rainbow Brigade.
Good, dude. Folks,
Our powers
we're
combined.
changing. The title is changing. It is now Profit
But her
Nickels.
fate
Okay.
is yet uncertain.
We're so sorry about Bobby Kotick. Look at our rainbow dragons.
Damn, dude.
Together, we shall be Azeroth's protectors
Together,
once
yeah. Look at that,
Here.
dude.
again. The
Such
new
diversity.
age of dragons
Oh my
shall begin.
I want to talk about the symbology here, right? Because all the way up, so you have no idea. It's like a car commercial. You have no idea what the fuck's going on, right? All you know is there's just this golem that is pretty much chiseled out to be like the peak of masculinity, right? The problem, aka the problem. And he's going on this quest and he's about to save everyone. He's crushing the jewel back together like a fucking dude. And he's like, I got this, right? And everything's restored. No, he gets pushed back. The force is too great for him. And then what? The fucking diversity dragons come by and swoop him up, and they're like, "Don't worry, dog, we got you." It's so fucking hilarious. Like, I don't even play Warcraft. I have no idea what the fuck was going on, but that was fucking gay as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that dragon looked a little bit like Ysera, but I'm guessing it's not Ysera and it's just someone that looks like Ysera. Really, most of that trailer is totally nondescript and not connected to Warcraft. Like, all the way till the point where the dragons show up, that could have been anything, right?
Right.
Could have been
Like
anything.
they were trying to like send a message more than fucking sell a game.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the symbology is interesting. It's like, oh, you know, the world became too shitty for us LGBTQAI++ dragon horde, so we had to leave, but now, with the help of the final man left standing, we will restore order and we'll come back and save you all from your bigotry. It's kind of what it felt like a little bit. And also just a big...
Be gone!
It also just felt sort of like an apology for the lawsuit in California going on a little bit.
Oh my god.
If you really look at it, it almost feels like when that whole thing went down, they're like, listen, next expansion, I want every color of dragon. I want a rainbow dragon
even about?
brigade.
What's the
Dude,
deal?
that-
Like what's the on the pedestal, you know? Like what's the heart of
That
this
lawsuit is smoke and mirrors. It's all based upon events. So like so you know like E3.
Yeah.
And you know about like South by Southwest, shit like that are just like conferences for certain industries. So when Blizzard would go to these conferences, they would have fun and they would party.
No fucking way, dude.
Yeah, no fucking way. And they would joke around and
No,
so-
they wouldn't.
So basically,
No.
basically what happened is that like out of the people that decided from the company to go to these conferences, some were girls, some were men, and maybe some of the men hit on some of the girls. Oh, that's never happened before. That's part one. Unwanted advancements, which are sort of like, okay, so a guy that you're not interested in hit on you for a second. Did they pursue you after you said no? Did they take no for an answer? If the answer is yes, they took no for an answer, end of story. But that's not the end of the story. Because they did take no for an answer. They're just mad that they had the audacity to hit on them in the first place. Okay. Pillar 2 is a joke about Bill Cosby.
Exhibit B.
So Exhibit 2 is this joke that happened on the interior of the Blizzard team. They would call like the big, you know how like they have these big luxury suite hotel rooms at these fancy hotels that like basically are giant like party rooms that they rent out.
Yeah.
Blizzard would always do that. Yeah, Blizzard would always do that. And so like all the Blizzard people who go to these conferences would party. And at these parties, you know, of course, there's going to be women and men, and there's going to be some fraternizing. Some of the women...
That's code for coke and loose women.
Yeah, some of the women that had sour grapes or, like, didn't like what was happening dubbed it the Cosby Suite. Because they perceive it as like, oh, women go there and they get drugged and they get raped like Bill Cosby did. Although that has never happened. That's never been proven. And it's not even a pillar of the lawsuit. Like if you look at the lawsuit, no one is even claiming that. But the joke was created and then the joke kind of took a life of its own. That is literally what this lawsuit is about. It's smoke and mirrors. It's so frivolous that even Gavin Newsom is trying to shut it down. Like, ultra-liberal, blowhardy Gavin Newsom is trying to shut that lawsuit down because even he knows how bullshit it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
Gavin Newsom's trying to take it down?
Yeah, exactly. That's how you know it's bullshit. You see, that dude would...
When you got a real grease maker like Gavin fucking squeezing some grease into the joints of that lawsuit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I don't even know what I'm talking about now because I'm really thinking about it. Like, oh, is he just thinking about it from like a sheer, like, gubernatorial? What is that a word? I don't even know. From like a sheer government like standpoint where he wants Activision to stay afloat because it's good for the state's economy? Or do you think he has like ties to like shares maybe or something like that? And
I think him and Bobby Kotick do blow off of hookers' asses on their yachts off the California
coast. As I would if I was them. As I would.
That is what I'm thinking, but either way, I think...
Listen, you need to stop. All right, just for a second, you need to cool your jets on my hero, Gavin. All right? This guy is S-class grifting material, dude. This guy has conned the whole state into thinking he gives even a fucking iota of shit about any of those fucking people.
Oh, I know. Yeah, when they did a recall on Gavin Newsom, his primary competitor was like an elderly black man, and they convinced the state of California that the elderly black man was the racist. He was the face of... They called him... This is a quote.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. S-class moves, dude.
This is a quote. This is a quote from the LA Times. They called him the black face of white supremacy.
Oh my god. Isn't it great to have friends in the right places?
Oh my
like
god.
You can just get away. You get the N-word pass. Like you could be 100 white people. And as long as you're the 100 white people in the right places, you're black.
Yep,
you set the rules. You're good. That's just what it is now.
Yeah, just like Joe Biden is like, if you don't know that you should be voting for me, you ain't black. And I was like, okay, well.
Oh my god.
There we go. There you go. Anyway, this trailer seems like it was a handwritten apology to everyone that's mad about the lawsuit, saying, hey, look at us. We have diverse dragons.
Full circle back to World of Warcraft, ladies and gentlemen. We're pissed about the dragons. Okay, the dragons. Okay,
our powers combined.
It's just, I mean, when is this shit gonna be shit to even the clowns of the clowns? Okay, like I just don't understand how this just absolute gruel can be shoveled to the masses still. It's one thing when it's being introduced and it's the mainstream opinion or whatever like that, but this stuff is almost universally hated. not just in a statistical, mathematical, factual way, but in like a social way. You can just feel the pulse of people just pushing against this crap. And it's still being fucking shoved down our throats in a World of Warcraft expansion. It's just crazy to me.
It's because like the 0.01% of the US population that's known as woke Twitter controls the national narrative on culture. It's insane.
Dude, the deadly alliance of Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey must go through.
I love that Jack Dorsey is like flirting with the dark side now.
It must.
He's like, you know what? Maybe I was fucking Palpatine. Shit.
Dude, it's what the world needs right now, dude. He's going to be like, dude, he's going to like co-found a company with Elon Musk or whatever and buy out Twitter or whatever the fucking I don't know. I don't know anything about this shit. I'm just making that up. But they're going to do something like that to buy out Twitter and dude, next thing, a picture of Jack Dorsey wearing a fucking KKK gown is gonna fucking surface. They're gonna be like, "Oh, actually, Jack Dorsey was bald at birth." And he fucking
It's gonna be a picture of Jack Dorsey in a KKK hood, hugging Justin Trudeau in blackface. That's going to be the picture.
They're just going to do like, they're going to have like the Predator fucking handshake with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. It's going to be like,
don't bring Carl Weathers into this. He doesn't deserve
Carl.
that.
Sorry, Carl. Sorry,
Carl.
Dude, that was good, dude. That was one of your better ones. I'm not going to lie. You connecting those two right there. That was probably Crack Cellar history right there with one of those dots connecting.
There you go. Yeah. So detractors of this expansion are saying that it's essentially a clone of Mists of Pandaria, which was the expansion after Cataclysm, after Deathwing showed up and just blew the planet up. And that's the one that I skipped. There's only one World of Warcraft expansion in its entire history from vanilla till now that I have not played, and it was the Mists of Pandaria. And the reason I didn't play it was because it was obviously a Kung Fu Panda ripoff. It came out like a year after Kung Fu Panda came out, and all the visuals were the same. Everything, like, it's just like, you look at it and it's like, how stupid do you think I am? That's how I felt. I skipped that one.
Wow. I mean, I don't want to insult you, dude. You're fucking at 9 expansions. Sorry, bro. Sorry, I had to point that out.
Well, moving on. That's what the detractors are saying. This is just a copy-paste of Mist of Pandaria, because Mist of Pandaria had sort of the same vibe, I guess. I don't know. I didn't play it. The protractors, I guess you could say, the people that are, for this, are saying, hey, at least it's not the crap that we've been getting up till now.
Give me a breakdown real quick. Mists of Pandaria. What's next? What's right after that?
Okay, so, I'll give you a full breakdown. World of Warcraft original vanilla is essentially just a continuation of Warcraft 3. Burning Crusade is the continuation specifically of Illidan's story in Warcraft 3. Wrath of the Lich King is specifically the continuation of Arthas' storyline in Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, the expansion of Warcraft 3.
Culminating the storyline of Warcraft 3.
And this is what we call the Power Trilogy, the original trilogy, as you called the OG trilogy. These three versions...
No. As I call it, the real game. Okay.
So
what you're playing is Matrix 4.
Okay. God damn it. I can't argue with that. I want to, but I can't. So those three are essentially tied intrinsically to Warcraft 3, the video game. Those first three World of Warcrafts. Now, Cataclysm is the breakaway point where it totally separates itself from Warcraft 3 and starts its own storyline. It's also when it starts to change the game to be more accessible to, let's say, low skill players. Because people always complained in the first 3, oh, raiding's too hard. I just want to see the storyline of the raid, but you won't let me do it. You make it too hard.
The only thing that's cool about MMOs.
Exactly. That is literally. And so Cataclysm is when they introduce something called Looking for Raid, which is a queue system that allows you to queue into raids with a bunch of idiots that don't know what they're doing and face roll bosses that are totally castrated. And that's continued till this day. Looking for Raids still exists now. And so the immediate expansion after Cataclysm that basically blew up World of Warcraft is Mists of Pandaria, the one I skipped. And after that, we go to Warlords of Draenor, where they literally try and do like an alternate universe, like time skip thing where Gul'dan does something a little differently, dies a little differently, and like changes the timeline. And so you go back to Draenor before
like
it was...
what? Wait, what?
Well, okay, so you know what Outlands are, right? Like from Burning Crusade. So the Outlands were originally a planet called Draenor, which is where the orcs originally come from. Yeah. So what Gul'dan does is he changes time so that Draenor doesn't become the Outlands, and then you go to Draenor to stop all of Gul'dan's lieutenants, which are all these orcs. Like all the orcs from Warcraft 2 and 3, 1, 2, and 3 that you, like Gorefiend, like all these original orc characters, they're all the warlords of Draenor, and you fight all of them. But hilariously, it eventually devolves into demons taking control of the orcs, just like it did in the original timeline. And then after that, it sort of does like we're just going to fix things, just believe it. Things have changed back, and we go to Legion, which is the next expansion, which is about the Burning Legion invading Azeroth, which is sort of like BC Part 2. Instead of you going to the Outlands comes to you. Then we go to Battle for Azeroth, where we finally go to the island where the Paladins come from. Kiltharos, or I forget exactly what it's called. But basically a bunch of humans from the original Warcraft and Warcraft 1, they all went to their own island because they thought humans were fucked and they wanted to make their own colony of humans, and it was all based off of paladins. So I call it Paladin Island.
This is a sliver storyline. This is an incision. Is what they're trying to do. Yeah, these are the worst types of fucking storylines, boys and girls, let me tell you.
Yeah, and BFA sucked ass. I played it, but I quit pretty early because I just saw through it and I was just like, okay, this isn't worth my time. And then the expansion after that is where we get to the current expansion, Shadowlands, where this is where the series totally just like goes off the rails. So you can say what you want about World of Warcraft. It always sort of stayed within itself all the way up till this new expansion. This new expansion, the premise of it is that the Lich King is actually just a puppet controlled from another dimension that's sort of like the afterlife by this guy called the Jailer. And they open a door to what we call the Shadowlands, which is essentially hell. And there's different layers of hell, and there are different areas. Like, it doesn't make any sense though, because there's like an area that's like a night elf land, like a very pretty like island full of pretty colors and purple trees and shit. And it's called the Night Phase. And it's like, why would there be that in hell? But then like right next to that island, there's called the Plaguelands, which is just like the undead island of doom, where it's just like skeletons and zombies eating each other, but they're supposedly they all coexist, and like their leaders talk to each other like it's the United Nations or something. So it's really ridiculous. It's not grounded anymore. Like it's very sci-fi. Like they really went to the sci-fi direction rather than the fantasy direction in this expansion. And then we get to like above all these little, like, because there's like a vampire island, there's an undead island, there's like a Greek mythology, this is Sparta island, and then there's the Night Elf island. And then below that, there's what they call the Maw, which is literally hell. And then below the maw, there's something called the Island of the Creators, which are apparently the people that created all of existence, which are these weird looking
Gurren Lagann shit. This is like an ocean and an ocean
totally,
in space.
Totally, dude. That's Gurren Lagann shit is exactly what it is. So they get down there, and then the creators are being attacked by the jailer, who's like the puppeteer of the Lich King, who wants to remake reality because he thinks that the creators are too mean. But he's literally Satan in the hell of the maw. None of this shit makes sense. Every single person that's
really what you're telling me is this like kid who's too powerful for the creators to control, was just super mad at him and made this pocket reality, and was like, I got this plan to fucking kill my parents. You in or you out?
You might say that the jailer has the drill that will pierce the heavens. Yes, you might say that.
God, what a great anime. Let's take a break here, ladies and gentlemen. Talk about this shit fucking expansion / reminiscing of the past and fucking getting the breakdown of Warcraft and talk about how S-class of an anime Gurren Lagann was.
Truly underrated. I think the term underrated is overused. Gurren Lagann defines the term underrated, in my opinion. They
don't. Actually, I argue that they consume the title of underrated. These fuckers like actually take their anime from underrated to the heavens. Like they started out in the ground with a shitty fucking premise anime like no one wants to watch, just slowly building the fucking mole emerging from the ground and evolving. Like that. I think it's purposeful. They actually had an underrated couple episodes. They purposely made them shitty. They're just like, look at this. This is where it all starts.
Current day, everyone that plays World of Warcraft has essentially said, listen, you have taken this storyline so far out into space, both literally and metaphorically, that there's nowhere for you to go. Like, literally, everyone's been saying that since Shadowlands came out. Like, they're like, where are you going to go from this? You've completely, drastically, and forever altered every character to a point where you can't build on them anymore. There's just nowhere to go. So everyone's been wondering, what are you going to do after Shadowlands? Nothing's going to make sense because you're literally a mystical warrior going through dimensions and beating Satan and gods themselves and all this shit, like total anime sci-fi shit. Where do you go from there? And Blizzard's answer was, we are going to go for the woke dragon flag brigade.
Which is kind of a regression in its own way.
It's totally a regression.
Right? Because, I mean, dragons, like, that's lame shit. That's Cataclysm, right? That's fucking...
Well, Cataclysm was a dragon expansion.
It was, but it's even pre-Cataclysm, because dragons have been involved in the series forever.
You could say
it's like
vanilla.
The fact that dragons are coming to fucking change the game, essentially, is fucking preposterous.
You could make the argument that vanilla was a dragon expansion, because vanilla, let's look at the very first raid boss that most people fought in World of Warcraft was Onyxia, a giant dragon. One of the first 10-man raids that people ever fought was Upper Blackrock Spire, which was all dragons. Now, you go to
because they were the power archetype in Warcraft forever.
Exactly. Now, the first 40-man raid in WoW was Molten Core, which, granted, didn't have dragons. But the second 40-man raid in World of Warcraft was Blackwing Lair. Look at the name, Blackwing Lair. Give you a guess. Yeah, there's a bunch of fucking dragons in there. It was a dragon. There was a lot of fucking dragons in vanilla. So, we've done dragons before. There's a lot of dragon content in World of Warcraft. So you're right. When you call this a regression, I think this is a supreme regression. I think this is their attempt to reboot World of Warcraft. I think that this Dragonflight is meant to be Vanilla 2.0. but with a lot more woke colors. Because if you notice, those dragons were pastel. They were not, there wasn't a black dragon and a red dragon and like all the classic colors of dragons. We had purple dragons, pink dragons, blue dragons, like every kind of woke color you can think of to make a LGBTQIA++ flag.
Oh, ugh. This makes me want to fucking.
So I dubbed this World of Warcraft vanilla. That's what we're looking at. Dead in the eyes.
I mean, if you really think about it, though, it truly, like, it's not an exaggeration of regret. Oh shit! Fucking started the trailer up again there.
Don't do it.
But it truly is a regression, not in just a Warcraft sense, though, because if you think about the whole fantasy archetype, dragons are so old school. They're like, Warcraft was just building upon a very well established fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You know? So when you see a game in its tenure and it's like, guess what? Dragons.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's not just a okay boomer moment, okay you're old moment, okay your time, you know, this is for different people type moment. It's just like, is it really just, are we there? Do we really have nothing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, dude. I haven't been interested in Warcraft since Wrath of the Lich King.
Well, guess what? Lucky for you, Wrath of the Lich King Classic is coming out very soon for you.
Dude, there's a part of me that would fucking love that, dude. Just to relive the glory days of fucking playing WoW and like just seeing like innovation and like just where your mind was at in that moment, you know, when you were playing.
Yeah. Then eventually you realize, hey, I was playing this 15 years ago.
Yep. And
That's the
nothing's fucking changed, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. And I'm going to go on the record right now and say Deathwing is literally a ripoff of Smaug from The Hobbit. They're literally the same dragon, the same character.
Smaug's a ripoff of the dragon that guards Rapunzel, dude. Like fucking, dude. Let's be real here, dude. Let's be real here, dude. It's a Trent Reznor, dude. I don't even like most of his music. I don't even like most of that fucking album. But that when I hear that song, I'm just like, bro, dude, bro.
Well. You know, broadcaster, in this universe we live in, there is some original thought left. Everything isn't a copy of a copy of a copy. And the thing that we're about to review next, I think, personifies that in this age of bullshit that we have come to know and hate. Are you ready to get to our review of Season 2 of Raised by Wolves?
Oh, dude, this is a good cut of red meat, dude. I'm ready to cut into it.
And we're back with our review of Season 2 of Raised by Wolves, and the creators of this television show described it as the following. Android partners, mother and father, along with their brood of 6 human children, join a newly founded atheistic colony in Kepler 22b's mysterious tropical zone. But navigating the strange new society is only the start of their troubles as Mother's natural child threatens to drive what little remains of the human race to extinction. Broadcaster Nickels, what do you think about the characterization of Mother's natural child, quote unquote? Is that a natural child, broadcaster? A giant space snake coming out of an android like Data? Is that natural?
Well, I mean, the means of impregnation, I think, were a little bit mythical.
They're a little mythical.
A little bit. But, I mean, the actual birthing, yeah, it was natural. It was a natural birth. It happened. We saw it live on HBO Max, baby.
Yeah. HBO Max, I have to give them credit. This show,
Hats off to him, dude. Hats off.
Yeah, this show, Raised by Wolves, shouldn't exist in the year 2022.
It really shouldn't. It really shouldn't, dude. I know we talked because we reviewed the first season, and I know we brought up the points we're pretty much skirting her on right now. But it's crazy how they quantified them in this new season. It's crazy. I want to let you finish, but it's just like, anyway, go on.
It's just like everywhere you look, it's just like substance over quantity. It's quality. It's storytelling over politics. Everything about this show is like a throwback to old school science fiction, to the point where it's unbelievable some of the things that happen. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit just because this is a great example of it. I want to start off with this. In this season, we get a new android called Grandmother, who is like this skeleton that Father recovers early in the season. And
that's jumping pretty far ahead.
It is jumping pretty far ahead, but the reason I want to mention it, not the specifics of it, but the fact that Grandmother ends up being the grand villain of the season. At the very end, it's revealed that she is the real villain, because early on, they're sort of trying to paint.
Let's hold up. That's kind of presumptuous.
Okay, you can argue with it, but just let me make this point real quick. In television, in movies, in cinema, there is a new rule that you are not allowed to make black characters villains. Only old 50-year-old white men can be villains now.
Yeah.
This show literally flipped off that notion and said, we are going to introduce a woke Wakandan warrior looking android, black as night, not like Meghan Merkel, not Barack Obama, but I'm saying like deep in Nairobi black.
She is.
And they made her the fucking
woman, by the
she
way.
is a very beautiful black woman, but she is black. She is very, very black. And they made her the villain, in my opinion, and we'll argue about this later, but they made her the villain. No one does that anymore. Name the last time a new black character was introduced and they became the villain. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Black Panther.
Well, no, that doesn't count because it's all black characters. You're allowed to do it if the entire cast is black.
Candyman. Damn it. Damn it. Hold on a second. What's that Tyler Perry movie?
Oh, shit. Oh, man.
Anyways, go on.
Yeah, so this show is a throwback. It does not adhere to any politics, left or right. It just does not adhere to politics of current. This is like a message in a bottle, completely encapsulated, just spared the currents of today's political torrents. And I fucking love it for that. I just cannot say how happy I am to watch a pure science fiction television show that does not incorporate any politics from any direction of current time. This show has absolutely nothing to do with 2016, with 2017. Keep adding from there. Nothing to do with it. And God, is that a breath of fresh air right now.
Definitely a breath of fresh air. I'll absolutely agree with you. But it definitely is political. It's just political, not in the time frame, right? Like we're so hyperized by like the last handful of years just because of how crazy they were. But in reality, what this show is based on is the politics of our humanity's lifetime. You know, faith versus science, man versus woman, nature versus survival. Yeah. There's numerous analogies you could take from it, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that I can even recall those when talking about this show right now so quickly is a testament to how great it is.
Yeah.
Because it really dabbles in all of those things.
Yeah, and of course it has politics, it has religion, but it's abstract. It's not like there's no like the villain of this show isn't like some skeleton with an orange wig on that grabs people by the pussy. You know what I mean? Like we're not doing bullshit analogies for today's politics that just won't age well. We're doing abstract political themes that exist today and existed in the time of Caesar and will exist 200 years from now.
These are
timeless,
eternal. Yes. Exactly. They're timeless analogies.
Exactly. And I think this show just doesn't get enough credit for that. This show is
you think this is Ridley Scott, or do you just think that the premise of it's too much for the time?
I'm not exactly sure. I think that basically that this show is Aaron Guzikowski, the creator. It's his show, but I think he was deeply, deeply influenced by Ridley Scott to the point where you could almost sue him. And he was like, well, wait a second. I want to get Ridley Scott's blessing so that I can do this without any fears that he might, there might be some sort of legal troubles. Because when you look at it, Ridley Scott has very little to do with this show, especially in season 2. In season
he's the executive producer, right?
He's an executive producer, but in season 1, he actually directed a couple episodes. And I think he might have wrote one episode in season 1.
That's why season 1's better in my mind.
In season 2, he literally didn't write or direct a single episode.
That's what it was, man. That's what it was. I knew it. I knew it. Like, even though season 2's great, don't get me wrong. We'll get to it. But I will say this, season 1 I think it's some of the greatest sci-fi ever written. Like, I really do.
I agree. And I think season 2 is also some of the best science fiction ever written.
It's not, it is, but it's not,
yeah.
Yeah.
I totally feel you. I feel you, especially early on. So let's start with episode 1, The Collective. So basically this episode starts with Mother. So like the aftermath of season 1 is they go through the planet, they crash, Mother gets basically just not destroyed, but like decommissioned, kind of buried under rubble. And the atheists find her and they bring her back to the atheist town hall or whatever. And we're introduced to the Trust, which is one of the coolest things about this season. The Trust is like this AI of like 6 different consciousnesses in the same. It's like, imagine Power Rangers with Zordon with his face in a tube.
It was Zordon.
But imagine like 6 sort of ghostly figures that look like something out of a horror movie instead of Zordon, and that's what the Trust is.
They were like some like alloy crystalline structures. Alloy crystalline, that doesn't make sense. Because metal and crystals are pretty much the same thing, but like it was like pillars of like when like you see picture like computer generated, I don't know if they're computer generated, but 3D computer rendered images or whatever of space, and they just kind of look like those gas pillars. Like those those narrow gas pillars, like multiples of them piling up and going down and up, like that's what it looked like inside the tube.
Yeah, so father and mother are basically brought back. The technicians are like downloading their memories and shit, and basically the Trust says, oh no, Mother is awesome and she's now one of my lieutenants, and you better all respect her authority. And all the atheists are pretty pissed off about that because Mother is a Mithraic, what do they call him? Necromancer. So she's a Mithraic necromancer, and they don't like them.
The depth of this world is so cool.
Yes.
I love it. I really love it. Anyways.
Yes. I think the weirdest thing about this season is the way they casually bring Marcus into the tropical zone. So like when the season starts, it is them in the tropical
It's pretty
zone.
preposterous.
It is. It's a little preposterous. So I get like the part with father and mother being in the tropical zone. That makes sense to me because of the way season 1 ended. But Marcus was way out back where season 1 was, nowhere near the tropical zone. And the way that they explain this is that they send an attack drone or an attack ship against Marcus. Marcus uses some crossbow to take out this super spaceship, which seemed a little absurd. Not only that, the spaceship crashes to the point where it's still operational. He goes inside, he commandeers it, and then flies it back to the mothership. I think out of everything that happens in this season 2, this is the most preposterous to me, even though some crazy shit happens in this season. That's
it's a big reach to set up the story.
Yeah. I don't know. That part I was just kind of like, yeah, I get why you need to bring Marcus down here, but this just seems a little too convenient and it seems a little like out there. Like that ship should have been not operational when it crashed. There's no way it should just been like, I'm going to get in and fly it back now.
Well, I mean, when you look at those ships, there's like no moving parts. So. I mean, it's like, well, I guess it could crash technically.
Yeah,
just there's nothing to fracture or pinch or crunch or bend or strip. It's just a one casted shape, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is why I really respect James Cameron and the type of people he brought on to fill in the world of Aliens. Because you definitely saw like this world built by this world spoken or written by Ridley Scott. And then you had people like H.R. Geiger kind of visualizing, lending credence to like the actual existence of these storylines.
Yeah.
Like the visual existence of these storylines. And then comes Aliens. James Cameron, he almost lends like some form of reality. He grounds the storyline, this very out there storyline, you know, of aliens and multi-planetary conquering of the human race and with the human race and stuff like that, to a more like industrial militarization kind of aesthetic to the actual storyline, you know. So that's where you saw those iconic ships or spaceships and stuff like that, and life or hibernation pods and all that stuff. I think that I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. I kind of lost myself, but what were we talking about?
Why you appreciate what James Cameron did with Aliens when he got the sequel to Alien.
But what we were talking about right before that.
The absurdness of Marcus, the way that Marcus was brought over to the tropical zone.
Yes, exactly. So, you see the design of that spaceship, right? And I don't know, maybe it's just me seeing that Ridley Scott, his name is on the billing and stuff like that. So I feel like that's Ridley Scott trying to do what James Cameron did for him in the Aliens universe. I just, that's what my heart tells me when I see those absolutely absurd designs of ships and stuff like that. I'm like, even in Prometheus, you know, you saw the horseshoe spaceship that was in Alien, you know, I don't know. I feel like Ridley Scott's just that type of guy, you know, where he seems to have a hard on for the creativity of what James Cameron did with that one that one spaceship, and you know what I'm talking about. The spaceship that lands them on the planet, with the Harrier type pivoting jets and like the wings and all that.
Oh yeah.
Halo has copied it numerous of times, like I feel like that's where like that comes from. That weird horseshoe shaped ship that Marcus crashes on and stuff like that. You see it, and I'm just like, I feel like Ridley Scott's just really chasing like this dragon of creativity when I see shit like that. Yeah. He wants to set the standard again,
Well, Raised by Wolves does set the standard for science fiction today. Like there's no doubt, there's no close competitor.
That's not true. Expanse, dude. Come on.
The Expanse is the closest competitor, but the Expanse...
Don't say the closest, dude. The Expanse is fucking amazing.
The Expanse is really good. Some seasons better than others. But if you look at the CG and the production quality of the Expanse compared to Raised by Wolves, they're different levels. Like, Raised by Wolves... And one caveat is the CG for when Mother puts her eyes in and becomes a necromancer. That looks kind of cheesy, like something you'd see on The Expanse. Other than that, all of the CG is so far and above what you see in The Expanse that it's like watching a movie.
Yeah. I honestly, I felt like the CGI went down a little bit in season 2, just based on the first episode. Like the initial first parts of the episode, I was like, dang, this CGI looks kind of cheesy compared to the first season. But also, in comparison to The Expanse, The Expanse is, 5 seasons of a television show?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about 2 seasons of Raised by Wolves, also considering The Expanse was a Netflix series. What was it initially?
Sci-fi, then Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so it's had some financial woes to be just to consider. Raised by Wolves is the birth child of some heavy hitters in the industry, and it's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
So I don't think money is a factor, so.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, The Expanse hasn't been that good since season 4. I think season 5 was garbage and season 6 was okay. Raised by Wolves, I think season 2, like what you're saying that you think season 2 isn't as good as season 1. I think season 2 of Raised by Wolves is definitely better than most of The Expanse. But
oh, absolutely.
But
Raised by Wolves is above Expanse, in my opinion.
I think that Expanse season 3, parts of season 3 and parts of season 4 flirt with the level of Raised by Wolves, but never quite gets there.
What's the season of The Expanse where Thomas Jane's character actually dies on
season 4?
Yeah, that definitely flirts with the level of Raised by Wolves.
But yeah, so episode 1 basically ends with Marcus crashing his derelict pirated ship right next to the atheist compound, and then episode 2 starts and Campion gets hurt by the serpent, and then
no, dude. Whoa, dude.
Yeah, because Campion goes out to that tree and he first meets the serpent. Okay, yeah, right. All
right, dude. The serpent did not attack him, dude.
Right, so the serpent, the 7th child, quote unquote, mother's natural child.
Yeah, I love that persistence throughout the series. I love it. The 7th child,
which is a flying snake god. Apparently, it's a vegetarian, which I found very interesting.
Remember, it could go on. Dude, hold on. I want to stop this for a second because maybe it was missed by you, or I'll just bring it up. But the snakes are everywhere.
Oh, in the
bones. No, the bones.
Oh yeah, there's shit tons of. Oh fuck yeah, I noticed that. All the snake bones. Yeah.
Constantly throughout this season was waiting for like some confirmation of a time loop or some type of like explanation of how Mother could give birth to the serpent, but yet it's clearly an established species on this planet. But they don't even talk about, like, Champion, he even brings it up. He says, he's just like, I was familiar with seeing the bones throughout my childhood, or whatever however he says it, you know?
Oh yeah.
So he acknowledges that he knows it's an established creature, even though it's the first of its kind out of Mother. Like, it just, that was one of like those weird like semi plot holes in the series for me, where I was just like, are they like purposefully just keeping this nebulous, or is it just one of those plot holes where they didn't really realize putting the bones on the planet on that side made sense? Or I don't know. It just,
yeah.
I had a hard time reconciling that in my mind.
If you've never seen a human before, and then you find human skeletal remains, but you've never seen a human before, you're like, oh, what's this? These are weird bones. And then eventually you meet a human, you may not immediately be like, oh, those are the bones that I found. Because, like, if you think about it, a human skeleton looks a lot different than a human. If you're a kid especially, I could see how you wouldn't immediately come to that conclusion.
You saying that kind of just put me 3 steps forward. Because now, is Saul the planet?
That's the question. So we find out in this season that Saul is not a god. It's a literal transmission coming from within the planet.
Hold up a second. That's an interpretation of 2 of the characters.
Well, I mean, there's strong evidence to suggest it, but yeah, go on.
Well, I guess we don't even know what the origin of the Mithraic are. But the Mithraic,
I think okay, so I'll give my theory on this show generally speaking. I think what this show says is that humankind started on Kepler 22b. The planet was taken over by some sort of entity that wanted to destroy humanity and was somehow connected to these snake creatures and created the snakes as a sort of weapon to exterminate humanity. And the Mithraics thought, okay, we need to escape because we're getting wiped out by these snake creatures. They all built ships or whatever, traveled to Earth to escape the snakes, and with no humans left on the planet, the snakes just died off eventually. And that once they got to the planet Earth, I think that over the course of eons of time, the legend of the Mithraic godhood got corrupted to the point where they thought Saul was God, where Saul was actually Satan. And that the Mithraic sort of got it reverse. And when they got back to Kepler 22b, and you see this with Marcus's storyline, who became like Saul's disciple after being an atheist warrior, he goes through all the trials, finds out that Saul's actually Satan, and realizes the mistake he made. That's my overall theory on it. I think that the Mithraic culture, the Mithraic mythos on Earth was a misinterpretation of their past on Kepler 22b, and once they got back, now they're realizing Saul isn't God, he is Satan.
So
the fact that we can have a conversation about a show like this says all you really need to know about Raised by Wolves, by the way. How many shows can you talk about like that?
So explain the Ingram temple, where the holes in the ground, and the snake is blocking the path further down. It's obviously a hole like one of those giant holes that was on the other side that has some type of gravity, space-time continuum effect. I don't know where even to begin with that because they didn't explain it at all in this season, but it blocks the path further down. It stops the elevator where the chain comes from nowhere, I want to point out.
It's a really long chain.
Yeah, very long chain. It goes down and it goes into this side tunnel where this, I mean, for practicality, it's a mutant, a human mutant. Between what we know of in the main storyline as humans and the fish people that are in the acid ocean.
Yeah.
Later on in the storyline, we find out that the fish people, with the full circle of the grandmother being the villain and everything, that it was the consequence, I guess, of humanity getting too smart and far out in the universe, I guess. Like,
I think what she was saying is that
like they had to return
Saul
to the ocean, and
I think whatever Saul is only attracted to humans of a certain evolution, and that her little evil plan at the end that makes her the villain is to prevent them from hitting that evolution by making them de-evolve into the fish people. And to me, what this all says is that humanity originally evolved from those fish creatures. Those are like literally what we evolved. Instead of like, you know, on planet Earth, we think we evolved from monkeys or apes or whatever they say right now. What I think Raised by Wolves is saying is, no, we actually evolved from these evil sea creatures.
Or that apes are just the land version of what those were. You know?
Maybe. I don't know. But either way, to answer your original question, I think that originally the Mithraic people, or the original humans on Kepler 22b 10,000 years ago, or whatever,
the rogue,
you know,
the
you want to go
people.
World of Warcraft Dragonflight on it 10,000 years ago, they created a religion around some alien artifacts they found, and they started to follow the instructions of these artifacts, and they thought that they were raising their god, but instead they were raising their devil, and they didn't realize it till it was too late. Because if you look at, like, when they start to, after, what's her name, Marcus's girlfriend, I always forget what her name is, after she, accidentally becomes the Tree of Life.
Oh, Anna.
They show a little, like, a Mithraic relic, which originally in the show they say,
grandmother shows them. I'm pretty sure, right?
No. So originally the Mithraic relics were like, oh, they just make those in a McDonald's factory. They mean nothing. But then we find out that, no, they existed on this planet before, because he finds one down in that hole, right? And then when he gets captured, he gives it to that other Mithraic guy that hates him. And then Mother eventually comes looking for Marcus because she thinks that he helped Marcus escape. He's like, no, I didn't do that, but you should look at this. And then Mother processes that plate in her mind, and she sees all of the information on it, which is how a record of how the tree works. And it shows like that seance with all those like worshippers circling around the tree as like the sacrifice becomes the tree. I think that this was all them in like their cult period before they knew what Saul actually was. They were trying to resurrect Saul. And once they resurrected Saul, Saul was like, yeah, I'm actually Satan. I want you all dead. So check out my snake gods, and I'm going to send to eat all of you.
That's all like, I feel like that's all a symbolic interpretation of it, right? Like, I feel like the symbolicness in this series is more like a playful thing. Like the fact that the seventh child was a snake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the snake tempting Eve to bite the apple and stuff like that. And
definitely,
I feel like that's just the trivial nature of the storyline. I feel like there's something deeper at play, you know, where when I definitely agree with you with maybe the origins of humanity being the sea people, but initially when I watched the series, I kind of felt like the sea people were a forced devolvement of what humanity was. Like this had already played out before. That's why we saw the snake bones and these symbolic interpretations of the fruits and stuff like that, and like Anna becoming the tree, and then them cracking open the fruit, and it's pretty much flesh-looking fruit. You know,
It's like brains. Yeah, I love that.
yeah, like I just felt like that was more almost scripture-like. You know, like they were trying to almost. I know I already said this, but almost quantify what we think of like religion, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like in my gut, it feels so much deeper. And that's why I love this series, because
Yes.
I watch it and I'm just like, okay, what you just said makes total sense. And that's kind of what I gathered on a logical standpoint from the series. But my gut's telling me like these guys like they're doing 60 chess. Dude, like, you know, I feel like what they're trying to like spell out for me right now, I'm gonna have to digest for a while.
For sure. And we both just recently kind of binged this show. Like usually when we review a TV show, we'd both have seen it for a while, maybe a couple weeks to a month.
Yeah, I have an amnesia about it.
We both literally just binged this over the last couple of weeks, so it's really like fresh and we haven't really ruminated on much. But one thing I'll say that I think contradicts your theory about how this is just all happening again, like Battlestar Galactica style. This is all happening again. It'll happen again in the future, you know, cyclical shit. The whole crux of the forced de-evolution comes from grandmother. And to me, and maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, and she could be lying too, but when grandmother first is asked, have you ever taken the veil off? She says no. Now, if she's never taken the veil off, that means that she would have never forced this evolution in the past, because the whole idea of this forced de-evolution comes from her taking the veil off and her emotions taking over. So her emotions are what are guiding her to this forced de-evolution strategy, in my opinion. So if she really never took the veil off before, she would have never done this before.
Let me stop you right there, though. She clearly, well, it could be a ruse, of course, but she says that she's never felt the complication of her emotions before initially. And then a couple episodes later, which, I mean, this all takes place in like a 3-episode span or whatever, but nonetheless, a 4-episode span or whatever. But at the very end, she says essentially that like this is like a conclusion of like her analysis, you know, like this has to happen type of thing. But she was found wrecked. And I also want to point, she was found disassembled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So explain that. Why, if she's so smart and like she was the cause of the fish people and all that type of stuff, then why was she disassembled?
So maybe this
But
conclusion that she comes to would happen to any
it's just
android
pure
from that
emotional.
era, and it was a different
Or-
android that did it originally. Who maybe
True.
she
That-
took her veil off, but
Maybe.
this new one, grandmother, hasn't yet. But because she does, she comes to the inevitable same conclusion that all androids will come to without emotions, that we must devolve humans so that Saul doesn't see them. Interesting.
Kind of, but it could also just be a purely emotional standpoint. Like maybe this android is just experiencing emotions, and this is just something that you can come to the conclusion of with emotions involved. Or it's an environmental thing too. She saw the fish people. See, this is where the cyclical thing comes in point, with the chicken before the egg type of thing. Were the fish people on the planet before the androids? Or were the fish people a cause, or like the results of what some androids previously did, which could be true because, again, she was found disassembled in the fauna of the planet, right? Just on the ground. But here's the twist. The tree that Anna becomes, the tree of Saul, or whatever, that bores the fruits, or whatever. If you remember, initially, the snake that was found on top of the mountain that Mother went up to, it was eating those berries. Inside those berries were very similar looking brain type matter.
Mm-hmm.
And they were radioactive. And when Father found that android, the fucking little versions of those berries were growing off of it. Remember?
Yeah.
They never explained that. So I don't know if I'm just, I'm getting into a few beers here. I'm a little high, I'm getting deep into the storyline. I'm getting deep into my conspiracies and my thoughts about this shit. But nonetheless, like, to try to like bring it all together, I just feel like there's a missing piece of the puzzle. Like,
for sure.
Sure, grandmother obviously was established technology from the Mithraics, or the precursors to the Mithraics. But at the same time, there obviously was a counter to the Mithraics on this planet that weren't human. And I feel like they were the snakes. The snakes were there. The bones of what was there before. It's in the fucking goddamn lyrics to the intro.
On a quick aside, that intro, greatest
beautiful
TV intro of all time.
One of the best. I literally let it play out every time.
Me too.
I never skip it.
it's up there with like The Sopranos and like all of the amazing legendary intros you can think of. Like
Maron, dude. It is literally like The Sopranos intro, dude. Play through.
Yeah, it's just like a work of art. It's haunting. It's a haunting intro that just like encapsulates the emotion that you have watching this show.
Sure, for sure.
And the lyrics you kind of hit on. A lot of people probably don't listen to the lyrics very closely, but the lyrics of that intro song literally are describing in a very meta way the show's plot.
Dude, the intro is what hooked me. I never even get interested in intros to anything.
Most intros suck.
Exactly. They're so mediocre. They're beyond mediocre. They blow. But this intro, you told me about this series, and as soon as I heard the intro, I got so emotional. I was just like, I'm just gonna let it play.
Yep.
This is so beautiful. Like, what the fuck?
I know, and I remember when I told you about this show. I'm like, you know what? You don't even have to watch the whole first episode. Just watch the intro, and you'll be hooked. I remember telling you that.
The art of it, the aesthetic, just the motion frame capture of it.
It's perfect. And it has
so well done.
It has like these weird like George Orwell 1940s sci-fi elements to it. Like when you see like the giant like obelisk with like the rings coming off of it and like the war-torn skies.
Never explained.
Just like there's just so much to that intro that just like evokes this weird primal sci-fi energy that's hard to quantify.
I think it is the primordial soup to the series.
It is.
When you watch that intro, it's like a Lord of the Rings map.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the map to fucking Middle Earth, dude, yeah. You're kind of like, okay, I see the lines in the sand. I kind of get the ideas of what you're talking about. And then the series, and it's so nebulous nature, starts going, and you're like, oh, okay, this is like color bleeding out into the border lines, in a way.
Yeah.
Like Amanda Collins, is that her name? Amanda Collins' mother?
Yeah, the new Sigourney Weaver.
Dude, just, I can't speak more positivity of a female actor in my mind than her. She is phenomenal. I don't know if it's just the perfect role for her, but I'm just blown away with how well she just plays the character's mother. And I don't know the dude's name. But Father.
He's good too, yeah.
Dude, he blows it away too.
I also love how in this season Campion starts to sort of become like Father. I mean, did you notice like he sort of picked up his like quirks, like the way he told jokes?
Yep.
In certain things,
sure.
You're just like, oh shit, he's actually becoming like Father.
Yeah. Which is a great dude. I know we're like pretty much just throwing away like reviewing episode by episode at this point, but
yeah,
this series is beyond just talking about like the particulars of each episode. The way they navigate and explain the taboo conversations of modern life is just so impressive to me.
Yep.
Through Champion picking up the natures of his father with, combating his more alpha mother, it's really just this like almost, I'm at a lack of words for the terminology, but like, I don't know. It just seems so picture perfect in my interpretation of what's going on nowadays, with like masculinity being toxic and like feminine power being a number one, and this infallible nature of femininity and stuff like that. It's just really rewarding for someone like me to like see a series where they don't just like pin the tail on the donkey or like try to go in the opposite direction of that and try to like put you like in this like growing up from a different past time on the pedestal type of way, but they actually try to like explore it, like it does a really fucking good job in that, where that for a second they're like, yeah, you were right, but then you're like, no, you're wrong. First, like in this corny, cringy way, it's like, no, women are really strong, and no, men are really strong, and it explores those facets of life in a really, really cool way.
100% agreed. And I want to point out the scene where there's some parts we're probably just going to briefly gloss over, like with the android girl as a part of like the cult that Marcus starts that's short-lived.
We call that backfire extremo.
Everything that android girl's story arc from beginning to end was fucking amazing. I loved the ripped off face part where the mother does it and it looks like something from They Live. Like, that was fucking awesome. I loved her reprisal where she assassinates all of them at the fucking pit. That was fucking amazing. And I equally love where she puts on like the fucking Saw mask at the end and reunites with Champion. And then after she dies and writes all that stuff, and then Campion meets up with Mother again, and while she has her veil on after she destroys the space snake of doom, Campion like breaks down and says that I loved her, and then Mother, cold because she has the veil on, says, why would you choose to love a robot? That was so like crazy. One of the greatest scenes ever. It's so low key, and it's just, but like when you
saw those red blocks hitting on the veil. So you knew that Mother's emotion was like trying to penetrate the veil at that moment. You're like, I'm not, what I'm saying isn't true, like type of thing,
Yeah. Yeah. That to me was like there's so many great moments. Like when, one of the kids that's pregnant goes to the ocean to have her kid by herself, which I thought was a little weird. But then when the sea creature comes up and steals the baby and puts it in her stomach and jumps into the ocean, dude, that was some metal ass shit. Like, there's so many little one-off scenes in this season of television. It's just like amazing.
I didn't understand that until the very end when I found out that the fish people. Well, I still don't know technically, but when the idea was introduced that maybe the fish people are the result of what androids have done before, that made me think that the fish people can't procreate.
No.
That they rely, like when they saw the human baby, they were like, "Oh my god, this is our chance to like make a new birth fish person."
I think so, yeah. I think so. Oh man, just really hoping we get a season 3. I encourage anyone listening to this to go sub to HBO Max. Even if you don't watch it, just play it while you're not watching it. Just make sure that they see that people are watching the show. This show cannot be canceled. This show must not be canceled.
You think it's canceled? Because
I don't know,
the fact
man.
that season 2 happened so quickly. Like when you told me season 2 is out, I was really surprised to figure out it was out so early. It went right by my radar.
Yeah.
And I love season 1. I had no idea season 2 came out.
Yeah. Well, here's to hoping, because they didn't really wrap this up too much. Like, there's a lot of room to expand on, and holy shit, do I want them to expand on it. So, goddamn HBO Max executives, if you hear this, please give us at least one more season.
They have to, dude.
They do.
They have to. Like, I feel like the amount of money that they've pumped into this season, like, not one point did one of those episodes feel like we're running out of money type of feel.
The
So, like,
CG got better as it went on.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like CG3 is really the question is season 4 coming? Is season 3 the conclusion? Or is, like, we got more to chew on?
Yeah. Well, broadcaster, speaking of chewing, here in the Crack Cellar, as you know, we have a patented, official Ghostbusters rating system that we used to review and rate every one of our shows here. On that system, broadcaster, what do you rate season 2 of Raised by Wolves?
Oh, dude, it's S-Class. Boogeyman. Boogeyman.
True, yeah, it's a true S rank.
It is. Like, I mean, it's so rare when I come across television, movie, games, whatever it is, where I breeze right through it, and I have to think about the negatives well after the fact. You know, where I have to nitpick, and I have to, like, you know, do surgery on it to, like, be like, well, what do they really mean by this? And do I have to go take a trip on a yacht and feel out my emotions before I can answer these questions type of shit, you know? Like, it's just a really, really well put together story and really well directed. And also props to all the people that actually make the series happen, down to the prosthetics of the androids, to mother and father's, like, skin suits, to the fruits and the fauna on the planet, to the CGI. It all feels really fucking unique. It doesn't feel like it's just some fucking Unreal Engine asset that's been used for the past 9 fucking years, you know? It just...
Exactly.
It just feels really good.
Yeah, indeed. Also, no surprise here. Also giving it a hard S rank. I love season 1. I love season 2. Honestly, I probably would put them even with each other. Like, I think season 1 had some very specific strengths, and I think season 2 had other specific strengths that are totally different from season 1. And I'm not going to lie, like, the first half of season 2 was a little pedestrian at times. Like, I want to say, like, episode 3 and 4, maybe, where it was kind of a little slow, little, like, you know, is this going somewhere good? But, like, then you get to, like, the last 4 episodes, and it's just, like, nonstop badassness, period, for 4 hours straight. It was just, it's going to be hard to top the last 4 episodes of season 2. Like, it was just so good in so many different ways, and really set up an amazing season 3. Like, if you think about the potential of what season 3 could be after this, holy shit.
Absolutely. Like, I'm psyched. Dude, Expanse never... I haven't been psyched for sci-fi since, like, Expanse season 1 ended.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to know what the proto-molecule was.
Yep.
And stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
And before that, I wasn't psyched about sci-fi since SG-1. You know? So... Or, sorry. SGU. SGU had me really psyched about the future of sci-fi, but then it fucking ended.
Gone too soon. Rip. And on that note, we will close out.
Man, dude. Rest in pepperonis, SGU. Pepperona.